Good afternoon, everyone. I think the light's going down was our cue to get started, so we were kind of waiting for everybody to wander in. So welcome to the session this afternoon. Hopefully you're ready to unlock human potential. We have a great presentation and interactive session for you today. So my name is Sandy Bell. I'm a change practitioner, work for Slalom Consulting, and I was on the speaker selection committee, so it's my absolute pleasure to be able to introduce Luke to you today. So all I really have to say is Luke Galoppin, and he's a little bit crazy, and he's from Belgium.
Perfect.
That's what he told me to say. It's like, okay. No, I'll say a few more words about him. So let's get to know him a little bit better, or maybe at a deeper level. So Luke is from Belgium, is where he practices organizational change. He's a solo practitioner, and I really like this in his bio, who likes to connect with other individuals who are free from dogma. So really outside the box, really uninhibited kind of thought processes. So the professional image that he likes to display of himself is that he looks at organizations as communities to develop, not as machines to fix. He is most recognized as the founder of the largest online community of organizational change practitioners, which is a LinkedIn group, and you said 3,800 members? 38,000?
58,000.
58,000, yeah. Gosh, boy, did I get it wrong. So without further ado, Luke, I'm going to let you take the stage. Thank you, or the microphone.
Yeah, the microphone. I am so glad to be here. And you thought you were just comfortably seated, and I will just ask you to stand up. We're going to make one big circle over here. So just stand up, come to the front. We're going to make one big circle. Because this is a workshop, it's more going to be like a workout. So it's not going to be a circle, it's going to be an oval. Okay. This is funny. I feel connected to some people already in the group, and actually this is what the session is going to be about, how I am connected other than through boxes and reporting lines. We're going to talk a lot about the white space on an organization chart. The white space on an organization chart is how things really happen in an organization. Come and join the group. This workshop, this workout is going to be about you. We're going to do co-creation, all right? What we will be doing next is there will be some agreements. First agreement is you will have to get into groups of 6 people, and preferably groups of 6 people who have not met before, okay? So start counting. As soon as you have a group of 6 people, you are going to come here, just pass here, and you are going to pick up, this is a workout, right? You're going to pick up what I call a 6-pack. This is a 6-pack. It contains 1 package for each individual and some sharing slides for the group. So now you can go, form groups of 6, but stay in the front of the room. You can pick 6 chairs and stay in this part of the room. Let's have a look what is inside the 6-pack. You can open up now. There's 6 individual packages. And those 6 individual packages, they are assembled with a paperclip. You can imagine the fun I had yesterday. In that individual package is all you need for this session. Okay? We're going to start right away with the first activity. And for the first activity and all the other activities, we're going to make one agreement. And that one agreement is that every activity starts with 1 minute of absolute silence. You're going to use that silence to prepare your individual answer. That's really important. You write down your individual answer. In the next step, you will share that answer with your partner. In yet the next step, you will find agreement with the 6 of you on what is the answer of your group. But it is critical that you take the time to write down something on your paper, because in some groups, and you know how it is in groups, in some groups, some voices are louder and some voices are quieter. We want to give equal value to each voice in the group, and that's why you need to write it down on your paper first. The responsibility of the group is to have every voice heard in the group. That's what we're going to do. The first activity is quite simple. It is introduce yourself. It's that first paper with the cactus-shaped I am. The way I would use that is I would say, I am a father of 3 kids. I am from Belgium. I like running. I am an organizational change practitioner. I am independent, and stuff like that. That's what I'd like you to prepare. And that 1 minute of absolute silence starts right now. And if you're ready, you can select a partner, left hand or right hand, and you share that specific part with your partner. And we're going to take 2 minutes for that. 1 minute for each person. I will not be calling in the middle of those 2 minutes, switch. You're responsible for that. 2 minutes as of now. Okay, so this was a round of introductions. Do we have any patterns, any commonalities? Anything to share here? What did you see?
Soul searching, music, and health were something that were common. Good health and exercise were
That you have
common in our
common.
group.
Thank you, thank you. Over here, things you have in common?
We said change management and family, ties to close family.
So those are commonalities. Did you notice that how you explain yourself, have a good look at how you explain yourself, is always in terms of how you are attached to one or other community. Have a look at that. I am family man. I am an organizational practitioner. I am a Belgian, for example, attached to a culture. I'm always attached to something. Isn't it funny that how we explain our identity, that we do it based on the communities we belong to? That's funny, right? Just hold on to that paper. We're going to come back to that very paper later on. First of all, I want to jump to one colored slide with the magnifying glass, the one that looks like this. If all went well in my preparation yesterday, you should have one copy of that. The magnifying glass, all right? It looks quite complex, but what we see here is that this is, when we zoom in on communities, this is what is essential to communities. I'm talking about this small paper, magnifying glass. Oh, it's on there, super. What we see there is how we belong to a community. It's one element that is important is a boundary. There is us and there is them. This is about membership. Membership is also about feeling an emotional connection and really feeling attached. Most likely, the parts of your identity that are on your paper are all of the communities to which you have a very strong tie. For example, I would not have on there a community that says part of the international reception yesterday. There was a bond yesterday, there was a community yesterday at a private international reception. There was a boundary, either you're from overseas or you're not. If you're from overseas, you're allowed, otherwise not. So there was a boundary, there was a connection, yet the tie is weaker than my family tie. So I would not put it into my elements of identity, right? So most likely what you have on your paper there are those communities with which you have a very strong tie. Hold on to that. What we will be talking about next is another part of community, and therefore I need to share a little story. And the story is about my son. So I have 3 kids, and the youngest one is my son, and he has a bleeding disorder. A bleeding disorder called hemophilia. And hemophilia is a genetic disorder that causes someone to bleed longer than somebody else. So what we need to do is every other day we need to give him clotting factor, which makes sure that his blood is stabilized and the bleeding disorder is more or less stable. We've known about that disorder since his birth, and we've been treating him according to a procedure that indicates the infusion in the portacat. Portacat is a small box that is implanted and makes it quite easy for parents or for nurses to treat that. So you have one big needle and you have a spot you can just easily reach. If you work hygienically, it's quite good a procedure. Now, as of the age of 9, which was last summer, the professor decided that my son, Dries is his name, is growing up and he's a strong boy. So my wife and I had to become proficient like this in giving him the intravenous shots. Now, I want you to imagine giving an intravenous shot to your own kid or to someone that is very close in your family and that still has, if I can say that, a little bit more baby fat than you have. And they give you these butterfly needles. That's what it looks like. This is a real one. I'm going to pass it around. Just make sure, don't remove that plastic cap or you will hurt yourself, okay? Don't remove the plastic cap. And it's really important that you hold it and that you imagine that all of a sudden, from one day to another, the professor tells you that you are going to be skilled at giving your kid an intravenous shot. So just hold it up to your arm and it has to come in that way. And the way we were trained, my wife and I, is we were trained by the nurses who obviously they have a second nature for this. And they told us things like, okay, this is like an airplane landing at an airport, so you don't want to go too steep because otherwise it will crash, but you don't want to stay too much on the surface, otherwise it will never land. I go, yes, okay, I get that. And what else? And then they go, well, that's basically it, and then you do it. What? What? But yes, we learned it. So my wife and I, me being a change practitioner and a leadership consultant, I was very engaged. I said, baby, we have to embrace the change. So I pulled up all my slogans that I have from change management. I put up my methodology and I said, baby, we need to embrace this change. We need to go first. We need to have courage. And I had a whole list. And you know what? We did that and we succeeded. No, that's pure bullshit. We did not succeed. That's so. Yet, this is what we expect from our customers, right? We give them a list of stuff, of things we truly believe in theory, and now we expect them to follow it. Now, what really happened is we succeed at doing this every other day. It is still difficult, and we do this because we feel carried by 1,000 hands. This is literally how it feels. And those 1,000 hands, they are composed of the nurses, the professors, the doctors, the family, the school community, and everybody who surrounds us and who knows our pains, more or less. So we feel supported by them. And I still remember the first day that I needed to give him the shot. So the first day that we were independent, for the startup was in the hospital. I could give him the shots with the supervision of the nurse. And you know, when the supervision of the nurse is there and when everybody is surrounding you, it goes smooth, perfect. And you have that self-confidence. You come home and all of a sudden the light isn't good and the couch isn't good and it's not hygienic enough and all of these excuses. So I was pacing around the room and I was saying, Kim Dries, come over here. The light is not good over here. Come over there, come over there. And he saw that I was anxious. And all of a sudden, he took my arm like this and he said, Daddy, it's going to be okay. And that's when something started to work inside here. That's when I thought, well, who is carrying whom here? That's a question that kept on running in my mind. Who is carrying whom here? I'm supposed to be the caretaker. I'm supposed to be the space holder. Yet I felt like carried by the 1,000 hands of community. And the biggest part I felt carried with was his hands. I felt carried by him. And that's when it started to dawn on me. Let's put this into scientific terms. And maybe we can get the camera on this one. Yes, we have it. So this is how I would put this in a pie chart. These are all the communities we felt carried by. You have this is the formal community. The orange here, this is healthcare. We pay for this. It's measurable. We receive service from this layer. But patients do not heal from service alone. We need care to heal. And that care comes from other communities. That's the nurses, psychologists, family, school. And then there's this big question mark. This is Dries. This is my son. I wasn't aware of that. This is the most underutilized resource in healthcare. Imagine that. This is a pie chart of how we, my wife and I, feel carried. There's another way of expressing that. There are different layers. And the funny thing is that some of those layers are real layers, others are digital layers. This is a formal layer. Hospital, healthcare, measurable stuff, formal. You could compare this to your organization chart. And then there are other things through which we achieve something. There is another chart in your bundle, this one. And you can see those layers on there. I even colored the orange layer as well as the bottom layer, the formal layer. You can see that one? What we're looking for is this drawing, this one. You got it? Okay. So what you see there is a formal layer of control, and then there are layers of community. The one delivers service, the other delivers care. It is so essential that we need both. We need an integration of both. That is so important. Patients heal not from healthcare systems alone. We heal from service and from care. One anecdote is that the layer we benefit most from, my wife and I, as caregivers, is a Facebook group called Hemophilia Mom. So don't worry, both moms and dads can be part of that. It's just the naming, Hemophilia Mom. And regular questions we see on there, like, oh, I have a knee bleed, and moms literally post pictures of bleeds and of things that happen to their sons. And then there's advice from the community. I would go see a doctor. I wouldn't go see a doctor. I would just ice this one. And then slogans that get shared. And bonding gets made. And that's how we feel supported as well. We feel supported by people worldwide we have never met. Yet this is something that I feel attached to. Funny, right? So we have to go and look for that in the same way in our organizations. So let's have a look at how this transforms into a question. Because this is going to be the first moment that we will build a word cloud, and that's what the big papers will be for. So if we look at the first question, I have been talking about the most underutilized layer in that system, and that most underutilized layer in that specific system, when I was talking about my son, is patient. The most underutilized resource in healthcare is patient. But I want you to look at your system, at your organization, at your world. Which one is the most underutilized resource in your system? In other words, and I'm going to rephrase this question so you really get the distinction that what we're looking at after is, who could be a helper that we did not consider before? That is the real question we are after. Okay? Who could be carrying whom? That's another way of saying it. So you look at your system, look at your organization, and for that first question, we're after who could be a helper that we did not consider before. The way it is phrased on your paper, it says, what is the most underutilized layer? We're going to apply the same logic here. We want your answer first, individually. So we're going to apply that 1 minute of absolute silence as of now. And this is the first time we are going to use this. So this is why you will be needing your markers. Have a good look at the instructions in the gray sides. What we will be building here, ladies and gentlemen, is a word cloud. And you're going to be making that word cloud. I need a maximum of 3 words on this. And that's going to be the conclusion of you all. This is why the individual preparation matters, because everybody's voice needs to be heard. And the hard work of your group is to reach a conclusion on what should come on here. This is a tough job, I know. So we're going to look at the maximum three words that come on here. If you only have one word, if you have conclusion on one big word, better it is. But the maximum is 3 words. And the maximum of minutes you get for this is 6. Go. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I just received a question. And the question is, what do I mean with system? Normally, I would refer to system as organization. I think that is too small organization. So if your organization is also attached to suppliers, to customers, to stakeholders, to larger community, that is a system. So try to look further than everyone who is on your payroll. That is your system. Do you remember when the opening keynote speaker, when he talked about, when we think about the school system, we only think about people who are payroll on the school? When kids think about the school system, they think about the bus driver and the janitor and the teacher and everybody they meet on their way to the school. This is how I want you to think about your organization, okay? This is why I deliberately use the word system instead of organization. We are looking further than everybody who is payrolled. That answers your question? Thank you. Okay, I'm over here at this part of the room. Guys, have you reached the conclusion? Anybody want to share?
Go ahead. I'm speaking tomorrow.
Okay, good. You said go ahead, so you can go.
Okay, I will go then. So
There you go.
Within our team,
Just let's stand
you want
up
me to stand up,
so
right?
that at least they can see it's not me talking. Here you go.
Hope you don't have the same voice, but okay. So in our team, we're saying that it's either the impacted employee and stakeholder that we're not leveraging enough, I guess.
Thank you so much. I'm going to another group. Sorry, I was standing with my back at you guys, but here is your opportunity to stand out. You can stand next to me. Here you go.
Thank you. So ours was empowerment and similarly, and connectivity. So connectivity in terms of reaching out and having people who are frontline leaders really reaching out to their teams. And empowerment, particularly for, as you said, people who are less tenured, people who have less experience but are out there and being directly impacted by the change.
Thank you so much. So what I invite every group to do is to have just one runner or one bee zooming to the middle, because that's on the floor where we will be assembling those papers. And while we are doing so, I'd like to have your voice as well. So let's stand up.
Thank you.
There you go. What do you have here? Let me hold it up.
So the 3 that we picked, middle management, we really felt that we didn't leverage them as much as we could, because they have a huge influence on the change, as well as both in helping it make it happen and explaining to the staff kind of why this is going on and what it means for them. The each other was really that we had colleagues that we felt we could draw more on, we had family that we could draw more on, and just sharing that experience and sort of what we're learning and how we can grow together.
That looks very concrete. Thank you very much. So I invite you to come with me, and then I will send her back. Don't worry. So a few more people standing here. You're my next victim. Take your picture first. So what was on your chart? Can you explain a little?
We ended up with some similar ones, which, let me find my chart. It was the customer was the most
Underutilized
most
resource?
underutilized, and then also the deck plate workers, what we call them in our place, what do we call it? Frontline worker. and the leadership team. All three of those made the list.
It's funny how we call out to the leadership team, and that is something that I see appearing on a lot of charts. Are they like not empowered enough, or is this a different definition of power we're talking about? So what else do we have? People standing around here, what's your thoughts?
So on leadership structure, our thought was that, yes, they are empowered, but they're not actually participating in a way that's genuine and authentic. It's very superficial, so it's not engaging for the people. They've sort of tuned out.
Okay, this is funny that we see this pattern appearing. Thank you so much for sharing. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our first word cloud. We're going to do 3 of these. I will ask you to assume your places. In the unlikely event that cabin pressure drops, oxygen masks will fall out. No, okay. Let's see. The next story is, now that we talked about our most underutilized layer, let's go one step further and let's refer one more time back to that magnifying glass structure you have here. And on that magnifying glass, all the elements of community are highlighted. So we have boundaries, we have people who are in and are out. People who are in, they have a common language, they have a symbol system. Most of the times they talk in acronyms that all of the others don't understand, or they have a ritual, or they have a conference they go to. So we are the practitioners going to the conference, and the others, that's the other people outside the room. One more thing is that if you want to feel attached to a community, is that I want to have the sense that my contribution matters. This is what is meant with influence. I can influence the community, and my contribution is seen, it is felt, and it makes a difference. That is one important element. You also see shared journey. So the longer time we are together and the shared journey we get to have together, stronger the ties we will have with that community. It is important to have strong ties with community. And one more thing on there is a strange word. It's a reinforcement dynamic. Reinforcement dynamic has everything to do with what we call intrinsic motivation. We're all change managers, or we're all psychology fans, so we know what intrinsic motivation is. Here in this context, what we mean with that is I join this community, I am part of this community because it represents a challenge that I'm up for. It's not too easy, it's not for everyone. I am part of this community because there is a challenge for me, something is challenging. Now, a very good anecdote to illustrate what is challenging about that and how we can stimulate that specific part of reinforcement is the story of Ernest Shackleton. I think it must have been mentioned in previous talk. Daryl, did you pull that up in your talk? No, you deliberately left it out because I was going to say it. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so this is about an Antarctic expedition that took place more than 100 years ago, and it was led by Ernest Shackleton. Now, he had to recruit people for this Antarctic expedition, and the way he was going to do it, these were non-payrolled people, so this is a recruitment. He had no mandate to put upon their shoulders. So he put a very honest job ad, and it went like this. Men wanted for a hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. Now, apparently, that's how the story goes, over 5,000 people applied. What Shackleton did there is he presented an invitation. Now, what is so important about an invitation is that if I invite you to come to my group or to be part of something, then refusal is possible. If refusal is possible and you do come to my group, you do join, then it changes the psychological contract we have with 180 degrees. If you are here by choice that changes our contracts with 180 degrees. That is so important. The question that we are left with in our organization then is, how can we create opportunities for people to choose to be accountable? It's easy to bitch about how a group is resisting your initiative. It's easy. That's not what you're here for, to learn about resistance. What you're here for, specifically in this room, is to think about how can we create opportunities for people to choose to become accountable. And that's a whole different story than managing resistance or busting resistance. This is putting the emphasis on us. Have we created enough opportunities for people to choose to be accountable? Or are we just labeling them and then pushing something down their throats? This is something to think about. Let's have a look at the next sheet. And that is, I have had the feedback from previous session, the hardest question. What is on there is, how can we unlock the potential of underutilized layers? Because we know that in order to access those layers, we need to have legitimacy. I can only have legitimacy if refusal is possible. So how can we create the space for refusal to be possible? If refusal is not possible, if everybody sees it as barter or mandate that is pushed down their throats, the engagement or the advocacy that we will create will be zero. So the question is, how can we access those layers? Again, we will be needing your input from every individual. So you know the ritual, right? 1 minute of complete silence. This is the second question. It's a tough one. I will come with more clarifications as you're preparing. This is the 1 minute of absolute silence. And it is time to have a look at our second word cloud. Hello. Would you like to share? Hi. Could you stand up and then everybody can see us? Let's move here. I will hold your paper for you and you can hold the microphone. Close enough.
Hi. So we talked a bit about being sure that you start before you're ready and be okay that you don't know everything out the gate. And be even braver to let those know who are going to be impacted by the change that you might not have all the answers available to you right then and there. We also talked about co-creating solutions with the folks who are impacted. What can you do to find out about what matters to them? What do they want to have a sphere of influence over? Can you hand some of that over to them? And then we talked about a culture that supports learning. That makes it okay to sometimes find that you've gone a little off track. Can we get it back? Bring folks back together to get yourselves on the right track together. So that was kind of what we came up with.
Thank you very much. I give this back to you. You'll get to share it in a minute. Let's hear some voice over here. Come on up with me. And I see that the cameraman was able to capture this. I give you the microphone.
Okay, so thought it was really important to, as an invitation, to ask for feedback, to actually to ask up front, and then letting people know that feedback may or may not always be used, but creating that respectful container, and respect was one of our words, so that it was clear what would be used with the information, and then being authentic about it.
You see, it's often, I'm going to give this back to you, thank you. It's often the simple things. Why don't we just ask? And instead of installing a culture of this, of that, let's just install a culture of asking. If you want to know something, if you want to know what's going on, ask. Okay, let's go to the back of the room here. Come on, guys. Get your shit together, come here. Okay, I'll hold this up for you. You hold the microphone.
We talked about development, developmental opportunities, so providing people to take on more responsibility as far as end user training or trying to break the system and becoming trainers, but then also taking stuff off their regular job to provide that developmental opportunity.
Okay, that still sounds to me as something that is mandated from the top. Did you have that discussion?
No.
Okay, no, that's fine, that's fine. It's just my remark. Thank you very much. I'm going to the complete other side of the group. And then in between, I watch the timing of the session. Oh yes, we can have 2 more groups to share. How about here? Sure. Come on up, I'll hold your paper, you hold the microphone. And so the cameraman can capture us.
Hello, hello.
There you go.
We had, fairly similar to some other groups over there, opportunity, giving them opportunity to get engaged or not, because some people, you're not going to get everybody on board, but we want to give them the opportunity. Listening and providing those open forums to hear what we need from those underutilized layers and understanding their perspective, not assuming you know the answers. And then your story, what's your inspiring, compelling, motivating story for the change?
Did you get a chance to talk about how you will create those opportunities to engage?
Well, there was a lot of engagement forums. We talked about, ambassadors groups and things like that, things that we've done in the past that have worked. I know that myself, I struggle with this because getting creative, because we have so many change agent groups and champions groups across the organization. So making it different each time, giving people a chance to maybe lead the group instead of follow, things like that. But we didn't talk much more than engagement forums like that.
Thank you so much. One additional idea I can offer that is triggered by this group is if you read the book of Seth Godin, which is called Tribes, you will find in there that he stresses one specific topic. You don't have to create a community. Communities are already there, and it is so important. If you think that you as an HR person or a change manager are responsible for starting up a community from zero, you are dead wrong. You don't do that. What you need to do is you put your 3D glasses on, and when you have your 3D glasses on, you can see that vertical dimension of sense of community. And that's all of a sudden that you will find out and see that, oh, there are already people gathering around a certain topic, yet I did not offer them a platform yet for them to assemble in a safe way. So the best thing you can do as a practitioner is to think about how you can offer them a platform. And don't always think about a digital platform. That's the easy part, digital platforms. What we're talking about is an opportunity where it is safe for these people to communicate. And I bet you somewhere feel that there are people with the same interest for a certain topic, for a certain passion, that are already trying to get in touch with each other. The best thing you can do is not to mandate this, and this is the symbol of mandating. You come from the top and you make a fist like this. What you do instead is you hold up your hand. This is a platform. And then, if you are lucky, people may choose that platform to be their platform of communication. If you're lucky. But refusal is possible if you do like this. Okay, so it should be totally okay for you if people do not use that either digital platform or opportunity you create for them. That's called feedback. We know that. We went to courses for that, to know what feedback is, yet we need to apply that to ourselves. If people don't use our platform, it's just feedback. Get over it. Try something else, okay? I'm interested in your point of view. Come on up. Let's stand here. I will hold your paper. There you go.
Okay. So we're interested in getting them involved in the solution, like the associates or employees. So engaging them in the how we're going to go about the change. And then the with them, what's in it for me, not just the company. They want to know, how am I personally going to benefit? Is my job going to be easier? Am I going to get more skills and training to make me more desirable out in there in the world? And, are things going to get better? And then the feedback loop is kind of what you were just talking about, where associates or employees have a way to really kind of talk about the changes and how it's going to affect them. So.
Thank you so much. This is for you. Can I see some hands? Who else did have thoughts that went in the direction of what's in it for me? Can I see your hands? Can I give you one advice? Don't do it. This is sickening our community of organizational change practitioners. Yes, I am pointing a finger right now. We should stop answering the what's in it for me question. Do you know why? When we find ourselves always the person who needs to answer the what's in it for me question, what we perpetuate in that instance is the victims that always tend to the side that are consumers and that say, well, I'm here, tell me, change manager, what did you do to me? The better question to ask, far harder to respond, is how can you contribute? How can you become a producer of something in this community? We are responsible for refusing the answer to the what's in it for me question. Let this be crystal clear. If we continue to respond to the what's in it for me question, then we put ourselves in the monopoly of the producer of answers. Yet what this is about, creating community, is that we break that monopoly of having the answers. This is about co-creation of answers. I will have a part of the answer, and I will refuse to answer the what's in it for me question. One more group. You want to have something to share about what I just told? Go ahead. I limit your sharing to 1 minute.
I don't need that long. Okay. I just want to say I think what you just said is fabulous, and I hope everybody here can take something away from that. Thank you.
Thank you. And one more sharing moment.
I just didn't hear, what was the better question? I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, the better question to ask is how can you contribute? Okay, but now that I'm here, I'm interested in to see what's on your paper. Let's stand here. Come on over. Oh, you invite me in for a comment and you get something back.
Yeah, so we talked first about providing opportunities for these people. If they're underutilized, what are the opportunities to give them to contribute? So starting small with projects or giving them some role that they can take ownership of. Second thing was negotiating engagement and buy-in. And what we were talking about there is really early in the process, making people feel a part of it from the very beginning, and then having that emotional connectivity, wanting to be a part of this and be a part of the rest of it.
Thank you so much. Peter Block. Some of you know the author Peter Block. He wrote the book Flawless Consulting. After that, in his second career, he wrote a way more important book, which is called Community, the Structure of Belonging. In there, he says that the small group, small team, or if you go for a multinational company, the plant level, that is the unity of transformation. The room we are in, this is where it starts. So when we have a small group, that is the unity of transformation. Lots of ideas that I'm using here or that I'm shouting about, like we should stop answering the what's in it for me question. I didn't invent that. That's from Peter Block. I've made sure that his book, Structure of Belonging, that it is available in the bookstore. So when you go out, you can purchase it there. Else, I can borrow you my copy. I have it with me. It's my Bible. Okay, let's come over here. Let's share the answers here to the second question, so we can move on to the third question. And I have a funny story for the third question as well. And let's build that second word cloud. Perfect. I will just read out loud. Ask the what and why, inclusion, invite, energize, curiosity, just plain and simple curiosity, development opportunities, early involvement, listening, storytelling, repeatable employee engagement, social recontracting, authenticity, individual motivators. Do we have all the papers here? I could just go on and on reading those word clouds. Okay, here is the next story. Have you heard about the story of stone soup? So I don't need to tell it anymore. Good. You can go. Okay. The story of stone soup. Two travelers are hungry and tired. They arrive in a village. It's late at night. The villagers don't know them. So you see the scene. Locked doors, locked windows. They knock on a door. We're hungry. Can we sleep? No, that doesn't work, obviously. So one of the travelers says, okay, let's make stone soup. I have a stone, I have a kettle, let's make fire. Then they start boiling water, and all of a sudden one of those doors opens. And there's one villager that peeps outside the window and says, what the hell are you doing? Traveler, naive, dummy of the situation, he says, well, we're making stone soup. What the hell are you making stone soup with? It's going to taste like water. Let me taste. See, it tastes like water. You should use seasoning. Oh, yes, that's a good idea. We could use seasoning. Would you happen to have seasoning? Of course I have seasoning is the answer. Of course I have. Else I wouldn't ask. So he brings seasoning in the soup. Another window opens. Grumpy guy, once again, another grumpy guy from that village, opens the window. He says, there's just seasoning in that soup? That's going to taste like nothing. That's just going to be thin soup. You need vegetables. All right, that's a good idea, vegetables. Yes, yes. Would you happen to have vegetables that we could maybe use then? Of course, else I wouldn't ask. You need these, and these vegetables. Come over and let's get this done fast. Great. Next thing you know is that somebody's complaining about no meat in the soup. And at the end, you have the whole village that is gathered around that boiling kettle of very rich soup. Everybody is eating, everybody is sharing their story, and everybody has shared their gifts into that soup. Okay? So what I'm getting at is, the poster has fallen off, but you can refer to that drawing. What I'm getting at here is that specific part that we call shared journey. Because it's in building that shared journey, I will be safe here, okay, it's a staircase. It's in that specific part of shared journey that we find that everybody has a gift to contribute. Now pay attention to how those villagers open their windows. We in our organization and we as experts far too often label that as resistance. When I see resistance, I go like, oh, maybe that's just a villager opening his window, complaining about something. Maybe he has a gift to contribute. So the villager opening his window has this entitlement mindset. He says, what the hell are you for blah, 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 right? And then you go, well, what do the travelers say? Well, maybe you could contribute. And if you can get that access, if you have that legitimacy to ask that question, how can you contribute? All of a sudden, as grumpy as they are, and I mean, I'm a practitioner in lots of organizations, I know how grumpy people can be. But if you stick to your grounds, and if you resist the temptation to label that behavior as resistance, resist the temptation to label that behavior as resistance, then maybe there is a slight possibility you can see it for what it really is, a villager opening their window. And you, what do you have to do? You do not have to make the soup. You do not have to put that what's in it for me in there. You need to create the opportunity for them to bring the what's in it for me to that soup. And that's how you will be responsible for creating the opportunities for bringing those people together. That's a whole different game, people. What I will be asking of you now is something very tough, is to look at your own toolbox and see how that story of Stone Soup might possibly transform the way you use your toolbox. Okay? Let's have a closer look at the question we have here. So, am I saying whatever I needed to say? What we are looking at is this co-creation of the soup. Okay? What we're looking at is that people want to become, or we want to create the opportunities for people to become a producer in a setting that there used to be a consumer. Okay? The question you see on your sheet is, what can we stop, start, and do different? I want to rephrase that question. When we look at the question, what do we need to start? What we are after is, how can we make sure that their gifts get shared? That is the real question, is what can we start doing? So look at your community. Look at that specific layer that is very difficult to access. Look at that most underutilized resource in your system. Focus on that. And then look at your toolbox. What is missing there? How can we make sure that their gifts get shared? For the stop question, what we need to answer there is, and I'm going to read this twice because this is important. What have I done to contribute to the things I complain about? What have I done to contribute to the things I am complaining about? If you find the answer to that question, that is what should come in the stop part. Again, this individual preparation is important, so you can get your answer heard in your group. I think we're ready. If they are ready, then sorry for the camera. This is the question we will be asking. We'll just hold it up for 1 minute for the camera. But we will be turning towards our community. Come on. So I will be holding this up for you.
Oh, okay.
And then you can hold the microphone.
Perfect.
There you go.
So what we said that we would start.
You turn to them, I'll turn to the camera.
Got
so
it.
everyone...
I'm so confused.
Okay. Back to back.
Back to back. Oh boy. That's what my hair looks like? Oh.
You look great from all sides.
So.
Okay.
Oh my. All right. So what we said we would start doing is reaching out to different layers of our communities. So at the individual level, mid-manager level, and not assuming that the leaders have all of the answers. We want to reach out and get all of the different perspectives that we can, so that then we can make more meaningful decisions based on what we're hearing. And then what we want to stop doing is, like I just said, assuming that leaders have all the answers and assuming how other people would react or feel, and really let them tell us instead of us just assuming what they
Okay, so remember what I said here? This, how have I contributed to this problem? This is good.
Right, yeah, because we assume a lot in our group anyway.
Good.
And then the last piece to kind of tie it all out is to be bold and to listen deeply. And the be bold part is basically saying we want to live without fear and be able to go to those people, ask the questions at the different layers, stop the assumptions, and listen to what people actually have to say.
Thank you so much. Here you go. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about being bold. And do you know how it's easy to be bold when you're at a conference? But when you're back in the workplace, how less bold you are and how easy it is to fall for what we call the chameleon law. It is the resonance with the influences that surround you. All of a sudden, and it's unconscious that it happens, that the things you were bold about at that conference all of a sudden they disappear. The only thing you can do about that is be awake, stay awake for that. What do we have here? The 2 first is good. Let's stand up. I hold this up for you.
Thank you.
And let's start here.
So in terms of start, we talked about seeking out the disgruntled, so much like what you were saying, that the people who sometimes have the loudest voice or have something maybe negative to say, have something to teach us. There's generally a nugget of truth or something in there that we can take from that. Another common theme across our group was we need to stop doing everything ourselves. So everything kind of sits on our shoulders, and we need to invite other people in and take a pause and give them a chance to actually participate.
Thank you. Short. Are you looking at that screen and you see that I'm coming to your group, right? Come on over. Here you go. That's yours. That's mine.
Okay, we wanted to start communicating differently, so using different language to try to draw people out. One of the ideas was to use the word community instead of saying certain things like, I don't know, department or categorizing people already, start using the word community. And then we wanted to stop telling and start asking questions.
Strong. Okay, good. There you go. Thank you so much. Did we already hear your voice? Now would be a good time to decide who stands up. And let's go over here. I'll take the paper, you take the microphone.
All right. Don't judge the handwriting. I use the computer for everything. So for start, we said look for open windows, so find that ingredient. Basically, what we're hearing is a lot of resistance, but also the people who are resistant, look for who those individuals are. So then we need to stop ignoring resistance, and then we put authentic communication as to what we're doing differently. But I kind of wanted to add my own little touch.
Go
so
ahead.
I don't know if my group agrees or doesn't agree, which is why I give that disclaimer. But in listening to everybody else, one thing that I started thinking of is not just authentic communication as far as like departments go or change agents, but also when we're starting from a strategic implementation from above, so setting up that governance committee, it's also really important to make sure that you put individuals who would be resistant because they will give you their honest opinion up front, and they should sit on that governance board.
Thank you so much. I want to elaborate a little bit on that. Thank you. My personal experience in some projects is that the people in the beginning of a project who are really assholes, at the end of a project, I get them to be the biggest ambassadors, but it takes a lot of painkillers for my headaches. It takes a lot of time, personal time. It causes me to come home exhausted and to be obnoxious at my family because they wear me out. Yet, this is more or less a true life of a practitioner. This is what you need to hang in for. This is my personal experience. How about this group? I have a microphone, you guys have a paper. You just need to decide who will come stand next to me. I'll hold that paper for you. There you go.
All right, so we talked about starting asking more, which seems to be a common theme, and then from a stop perspective, it really is doing too much on behalf of others. I mean, we will write communications for our sponsors, and all they do is sign their names, assuming we know what they were going to tell their organization. And then acknowledge and respond to feedback. I think sometimes we ask for feedback. We're pretty good about asking for feedback, but we talked about how if we don't like the feedback, we don't even acknowledge that we received it. And we certainly don't explain why we may still choose to go a different direction.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Hold on to that. How do you feel when people ask you to fill out a survey or for your feedback and then you hear nothing? How well respected do you feel? I saw that in the bookstore there's a lot of books written by Edgar Schein and Humble Consulting. I highly recommend those books as well. So I don't get a percentage on those books sold. I just think they're awesome. I'm going to this part of the room for the last group of sharing for this section, and it's going to be you guys. Come on over. I will hold your paper. Didn't I say restrict to 3 words? But you're good, you're good.
I wasn't the writer, I'm just the communicator.
And don't shoot a messenger. That's what you were going to add.
Yes, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I think a couple of them are the same, but one, I guess, that would stick out a little bit more would be providing more opportunities to succeed. So lean into what we don't know more. So we don't always have all of the answers, so lean more into being upfront with that. So having people, I guess it leads back to the co-creation part of it. Like, we don't always have to be the expert in everything, but we just need to be the leader of how we get people on board with us.
Thank you so much. Sure. Hold on to that. So we will bring all the papers to the center, and next to that, we will push the chairs aside. We will come back into a circle for last activity. Hold on to that big paper you have, which says compose a tweet. That will be our next action. And where do we want to put it? That's a good question. Here is my paper. Da-da-da-da. So make sure we get rid of the chairs. We get a circle around our own harvest. This is you guys. This is you making the session. So the technicians of this session, they asked me if I have slides. Now I have slides. You know how we talked about gifts, stone soup, creating a possibility for people to share gifts? There's plenty of room on this side, people. Come on over. Let's make a circle. Make sure you have something to write. There are some more markers here. This is the closing moment of this session. It's almost a ritual, and it's important. So next to these 3 word clouds, we are going to create a Twitter wall. You have that one last paper with you, which you haven't used yet, which is a larger paper. What I want you to do now is to give back to the group and to mirror what you have received. The gifts conversation is not so much me giving a gift, but me showing to the other person what you have given me just by your interaction, and then you become aware, oh, I was useful in this group, I matter in this group. So the question that is underlying that tweet I want you to compose is, listen carefully, what have others in this room said or done that has touched you? Take more than 1 minute, take 2 minutes to think about it. You can compose that tweet on the back of that paper. A tweet is normally composed of 140 characters. Just make it into one short sentence. When you have a crisp tweet, you can use the front of the paper. You can use clear handwriting. And then I will hand out 2 microphones, one on each side. If you want to share your tweet, then you hand out the microphone to whoever wants to share the tweet, okay? So while you are preparing, I will install the 2 microphones, and then the 2 minutes will be over and we will start sharing. The question, yes, I will repeat it once more. What have others in this room said or done that has touched you? This is how we're going to do it. There's two microphones on opposite sides. When you feel ready and you feel courageous, you come up to the microphone and you slowly read your tweet, and you can put it here. This will become our Twitter wall. We will have one here, alternating, one there, one here, one there, one here. So prepare there. We're starting here.
All right. Success comes from diversity, community, and co-creation.
Thank you. You can put it there. Thank you.
Reinforcing to engage the way I'm choosing to engage with the community.
Xavier, I interrupted you. You can go again.
All right. Reinforcing the way I am choosing to engage with the community.
Thank you. I'm going to take the word. 1 second. Don't feel obliged to all share your tweet. Some of them are intimate. Some of them you just don't feel like sharing. That's okay. Go ahead.
Emphasize the power of the collective.
Thank you.
Be brave.
Thank you.
A new perspective for approaching the challenges we face as change practitioners.
Thank you.
Get rid of what's in it for me.
Thank you.
It's not always resistance. Be intentional and respectful in our change.
Thank you. Can we have more volume on the microphones, please?
Whip is so 1980s.
Thank you.
Instead of a fist, hold your hand out and make a platform.
Thank you.
Give people opportunity. Everyone has a unique gift to contribute.
Thank you.
Change is community powered.
Thank you.
We feel carried by 1,000 hands.
Thank you.
Ask often, listen always, validate assumptions.
Thank you.
Push past conventional thinking.
Thank you.
Change management is really about respect. All these things are gestures of respect.
Thank you.
We are a community, all in this together, listening to everyone and empowering all to contribute.
Thank you.
Stakeholders are creative, resourceful, and whole.
Thank you.
I am.
Thank you.
Embrace the villagers opening the window. Change your view on resistors.
Thank you.
We share the challenge to slow down, to ask, and listen.
Thank you. Let's just enjoy this silence for a second. This is us. This is you. This is what you produce. This is your session. One more thing is, you have in your handouts these social architecture design principles. You want me to be very honest about it? I wanted to have a definition of social architecture. After 5 years of digging into this subject, I still didn't grab it into a definition. This is the best thing I come up with, but you can see that every one of those design principles, if you are intentional about a design, which is architecture, to be intentional about a design, this is how we do it. This is how far I have gotten on the subject. Still lots of research to do, and I want to make this into a book. I want to express my gratitude to all of you for contributing to this session. This has been an awesome experience for me. Please continue to put your tweets on there. We will ask the organizers of ACMP to have the permission to put it on the walls so that whenever we come back to this room, that we can see ourselves reflected in this room. You have made something possible in this room, and I would like to wholeheartedly thank you for that. Thank you so much.